Hi, everyone. It's Rick Lawrence with Fred Oduyoye, founder of Reachable Reconciliation, here for another of our video conversations today. We're going to talk about what you don't do in the reconciliation process around the holidays. I can't wait for you to hear what Fred has to say about this. But just as a reminder, Fred created a 5-step process. It's not linear, it's loopy. But there are 5 R's in that loopy process. All of it goes over the bridge of relationships. So even in Fred's logo of Reachable Reconciliation, it's a bridge crossing a chasm. It's metaphoric for the chasms that we need to cross. And the bridge itself is relationship. That's one of the R's. There's also reactions, reflection, repairs, and reaching. And I was just telling Fred before we started recording about a holiday time a long time ago when my 2 sisters and I were met at my older sister's house with my parents there. And in the middle of that, my parents called this very somber, serious family meeting to tell us that the 3 of us young people, all with our own families at that point, needed to be in much more frequent communication with my parents, and sort of were given a standard for what that should be, and that we should all be reaching out to my grandmother on a regular basis. In the middle of this, I felt more and more uncomfortable, and I finally spoke up and said, I have to set a boundary here. You know, we're all adults with our own families, and I don't feel good about the standard that you're pushing onto us right now. And you can imagine how that went over, like awkward silence. And it actually started off a whole trajectory in my relationship with my parents that continues to this day, where they didn't really appreciate the boundary setting. And maybe in retrospect, it wasn't the right time to do it. So Fred, talk a little bit about when the holiday time, when we're getting together with others, where things come up, and when is the right time to do things and when is the wrong time to do things?
Man, I tell you what, holidays, that can be a wild time, right? I think when I reflect, and I love your story, by the way, Rick, that you were sharing, because here's the deal: reconciliation, when it comes to that, like during the holidays, that's not the time to try to solve a divide, right? That's not the time to try to fix something, because especially in the times that we're living in, every moment is valuable, right? And so when you come into the holiday season, you can't now start reflecting, right, which is one of the R's, on things that have happened in the past and now want to repair it, right? I think about my own family. So of course my last name's Oduyoye, and my mom is from the States and my dad is from Nigeria. But you know how heavy culture is and family is when it comes to, you know, a lot of those kinds of cultures. And so my dad's side of the family, I mean, they come in swinging, right? You know, and when it comes to the holidays and Christmas, they come in and they're showing love, and they have love, and they're giving love, but their tones sounds a little different, especially if, you know, in the States, for those of us who live in the States. So they'll come in and say, you know, we have not talked to you for an entire year. How come you haven't called me? How come you haven't written? How come you haven't checked on me? You know, so they come in, you know, swinging on you, like you're like, whoa, Jack, this is holidays. Let's show some love. This is Christmas time. Let's talk about the story, you know, about being together. But no, they want to know why you have not talked to them. It doesn't make any sense that you have not talked to me, you know. So, but that's not the time to try to repair things. You know what I'm saying, Rick? And even as you were sharing, it's not the time to reach either. So you're not trying to fix things and repair things like historical patterns that have gone on with family. You're not trying to reflect on conversations and conflict and things that have kept you separate. You're not trying to bring up ills that have gone on in the family, that's not the time to repair it. And it's not the time synonymously to then say, well, you know, why aren't we reaching out, right? In your story and in my story, that's not the time to repair and to reach. That's the time to just enjoy the relationship of being in the company of one another, right? So as you highlighted at the beginning, that relationships is kind of the thread to the whole reconciliation model that we have for Reachable Reconciliation. And so at that time, you just want to nurture the relationships that are in front of you, whether it's friends or family. Just do that. Add to the pillars that hold up the bridge of relationship by making an investment to just care about the relationships that you value and that are in front of you during that time.
I love that. And you're not, just to be clear, you're not saying, oh, reaching and repairing and even reflecting. Those aren't really important as part of the process, but it's not the right time for that.
Timing is everything. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that focus on just nurture the relationship. It kind of is freeing too, because then you don't feel the burden and the weight of having to deal with stuff when you think, oh, we're connecting again. Are we going to have to deal with that? It gives you sort of a narrow focus of, no, how about if I just try to build up the connective tissue in our relationships and value them, like you said.
Well, even in the model, right, Rick, if as you see relationships on the bridge, I mean, that's the time to sit back and realize, you know what? Let's just nurture the relationship. And if we come out of that moment together, realizing that we're still on the bridge together as family and as friends, you know, then it makes it that much easier to then go back and reflect and repair and reach. Because if we close that gap on the front end to see that the core is the value of relationship, then it makes it easier to go back and, you know, have some dialogue on the other spaces that we might have missed.
That's so good. And for those of you who don't know, Fred and his friend Chris Cox is director of back-to-back ministry in Cincinnati. They're in the middle of a masterclass right now. They just finished session 1 last week. Their session 2 is this week. And one of the things I love that you guys talk about in that first session was, I think I'll always remember this phrase, don't jump off the bridge. But the bridge, if the bridge is relationship,
yeah,
do what it takes to stay in the relationship, because if you don't stay in the relationship, none of these other things really matter. And so I love that about what you're saying right now, Fred. So heed Fred's wisdom, those of you who are watching this. As you head into your holiday gatherings, I'm going to remember this.
Yeah, don't come in swinging.
That's right. Do not come in swinging. And if you want to find out more about Reachable Reconciliation and what Fred does with cohorts and organizations and churches and individuals to help them move toward building this bridge and undergirding it with strength and reaching across whatever chasms you have, information about how to connect with them is just below this video. So we'll see you again the next time we have our conversation.
Take care.